civil engineering, and then I came to Denmark and did my master here, sustainable energy in energy savings. Then I moved to Oslo for a job in Rambøll, stayed with them for 3 years, and now I work for a Norwegian company called Erichsen Horgen. I work mostly with BREEAM, which is a green certification for buildings. And it's kind of like managing the sustainability side of the project. Also some environmental issues, sustainability issues, call it whatever you want. And I started also with daylight the last year, daylight simulations. A bit about the company I work for. We are around, we are a Norwegian company, around 165 people in 4 cities. We mostly have Norwegian projects. And not to be bragging about it, but we are one of the best ones in Norway. We are the biggest company in VVS, or as you would call it, HVAC and plumbing. And we are part of the biggest projects, the coolest projects in Norway. So like the Opera House you probably have seen in Oslo, and the new National Museum and so on. And we are winning all these projects because we are very focused on like having specialized people in each sector, like healthcare, houses and office buildings and so on, so on. It's very specialized. Other than that, we have the specialfag, as we call it. I'm part of that. It's basically like specialized disciplines. I'm under environmental and building physics. And that's basically to just make a bigger bill to the customer. We call it specialfag. I'm gonna start with a Norwegian mix because it's a bit of a special case. The electricity comes almost 98% from sustainable energy. So that makes, if we look at the second figure there, the energy mix is halfway electricity almost, so half of it basically sustainable. Which brings us to the next figure. If we look at this, we can see that the energy used in the buildings is bringing very small or low CO2 emissions. Also, the production of electricity and heating is producing quite low CO2 emissions. So the sectors that are more interesting to kind of do something about it is transport and industry in Norway. And because of the Kyoto Protocol and all the targets that Norway has set, there are things that has to be done. And thankfully, we are doing something about it, not like this guy in the picture. So how does Norway react? There is an oil ban for heating systems. If you have an oil heater, you need to change it. These are only examples. They are really focusing on fossil-free construction sites, which means like based mostly on electricity, all the vehicles that are in the construction sites, low emission materials, transport of materials to construction site to try to lower the emissions there. This is also quite interesting if you think about the energy, the green certifications, because it's addressed by the green certifications as well. And circular economy, very hot topic in the future, to reduce waste and try to reuse materials. But a bit more about the energy. Norway came with a new technical standard, trying to lower the energy use in buildings. The passive house is very popular, also the zero emission building. The passive house is German, has been transferred to the Norwegian standards, and zero emission buildings is kind of like, the idea is that you start with a very high emission, CO2 emissions in the start, because you have all the transport of the materials itself that have been produced. So you start from here, from day zero from the building, and then you are producing sustainable energy in the building, trying to reduce that to zero in 60 years, if that makes sense. So each year you kind of lower the emissions. Heat pumps, solar energy, geothermal, like you saw in our super pasta building. Everything is really popular right now in Norway. Almost all the big buildings are using it. As I talked about green building certifications, I'm working a lot with BREEAM. BREEAM is from England. A lot of people are against green certifications in buildings because they're saying it's too square. I agree with that. But at the same time, they're pushing the market towards more sustainable solutions. So I can see a change the last years that I've been working with it, that especially for the constructor that is constructing the building, they try to use the cheapest solutions ever. So BREEAM is kind of like the key to, or green certifications in general, are the key to push the market forward in the building sector, because it is a very traditional sector. And as an example, I have Omsorgsbygg, which is also a municipality that has set a goal for green certification very good. And this is my baby in the picture. It's my project right now, one of the projects I work for, which is going to be BREEAM Outstanding, the highest score. And yeah, it's the third building in Norway that will try to get the BREEAM Outstanding, and it's the first school in Norway that is going to try. Hopefully we will get it. That's all for me. Any questions, by the way?
Thanks for the talk. I was wondering if you saw any difference between the first 3 years you had at Rambo and then this movement you did to this smaller company.
Good question. Big difference, yes. Being in a big company, it is first of all, it's harder to make changes in the way we work. Being a part of a smaller company, I feel like it has made me be able to apply changes, because I feel like there has been not the most efficient way of working in a big company. And also because we are a small company, we are very much focusing on trying new things, not only the things that work and have worked forever. So they are trying all the time new things, and we have actually two or three professors that work with the University of Oslo and NTNU in Trondheim. So we have people that are also in the university side taking the new knowledge in. So that we didn't have in our number. Plus we have a lot of more money to go to conferences, learn new things and so on. Yeah.
Hello. Yes. Thanks a lot, Stefani. How is it working with buildings and energy efficiency in buildings in a country with 98% of hydro, and thus maybe not that much interest in not using
Yes. Well, what I didn't mention is that we are selling these quotas to other countries. So basically, it is not as clean as we're saying, because we have already sold the quotas. But there is quite a lot of focus to lower the energy need per building, because there are more buildings every year and this is rising and so on. So there is a quite big focus. So it is more interesting maybe to work with materials and so on that has higher emissions, but at the same time there is focus on that as well.
And what policy measures are in Norway at the moment for promoting more efficient housings?
Well, the green certification, as I said, is getting very popular, but also municipalities. Each municipality have their own kind of structure and their goals. And because of the targets of Kyoto Protocol, 2020, 30% reduction, don't think it's happening, but at least they have kind of the idea, okay, we have to do this, we have to do something about it. And I can see difference even from the years I've been working, because I've been working now 4 years. I can see a change. at least in Oslo municipality, like the fossil-free construction sites, it is happening. There are many projects that are doing that, especially for the Oslo community buildings or municipality buildings. Yeah.
I can understand from some of my building colleagues here, that there's talk about avoiding concrete and going more towards biomass in the buildings. Can you say something about the discussions on that in Norway?
This is one of my saddest parts in Norway, because actually Denmark has managed to reuse concrete 90-something%. Norway, that is like 18%. So everything that is demolished or whatever is going to just a dump, which is very sad about, and I'm trying to work on that in most of my projects, because I'm also in the demolishing part. But using concrete in new buildings, there is also low emission concrete, which has I don't remember, 1/3 of the emissions just by building it, but takes more time to get fast. Yes, thank you. But also at the same time, we have a lot of tree buildings. Wooden. Trebygninger. But because it has a lower emission with wood, but it cannot be done in big buildings. So I think that the answer to that is low emission concrete, I think.
Can you hear me? Yes. You mentioned at some point that there is people criticizing certificates, if I understood correctly.
Yes.
And you agree? So can you elaborate briefly about pros and cons of certificates?
Well, each certificate is different. I know in Denmark they use mostly LEED, which is American. Norway has decided to go only with one certificate, BREEAM, which is English, because they wanted to be able to compare the buildings. Well, I am now in many projects that are using BREEAM, and I am on the side of the customer. We're working together to get the certifications, and I get a lot of complaints because it's very square. It's black and white. You have a little, as I call it, Bible. You have to go through and read the small text and try to do it exactly as it says. But I know it's black and white and so on, and it might be a bit difficult to apply in some buildings and so on, but it is pushing the market. I mean, people are more aware of things. They're more aware of using low emission materials and so on, because they have to. They have to start thinking about it because of BREEAM. Otherwise, they would just buy the cheapest and be done with it. So I am pro certifications. Maybe they should be a bit more flexible, but that's something that probably will come in the future, because they are making more certifications per industry of the building site. One for health, one for office and so on. But it's coming slow to the market.
One last question, guys. We're out of time.
Yeah. Now that I've been living in Norway, I could tell that everybody heated their houses with electric heat.
Yes.
Are they changing this in the new buildings? I know we don't want with thermal heat, geothermal heat, but are the known consumers changing the way of heating their houses?
Depends very much where the building is, because a lot of it is district heating if it's close, or not district heating, sorry, electrical panels. But depends where the building is and the potential of the area, if you can have geothermal and so on. But geothermal is very expensive, so it is like they do usually a study of the whole area and the building to see what is the most optimal. It changes a lot, but electrical, how do you call it, varmepanel. It is the most efficient in Norway because it is from clean energy, basically.
That doesn't mean it's efficient. That means
Efficient? No.
Cost efficient.
No. But yeah, it's cheap for now because the prices are also going up. So I don't have a good answer to that. No.
Just would like to add on that. We actually sell domestic hot water heat pumps to Norway. And funny enough, as soon as the heat pump is delivered in house, the heat pump circuit is deactivated. They only run the backup heater. So it doesn't really matter how efficient is the heat pump. It's just a little heating.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a heat pump inside to get some probably subsidies.
Probably yes. It's because almost like all of the buildings have heat pumps. That's true. Yeah. It's not the optimal market, as I said, traditional market. Yeah.
Okay, it's time to go to the new speaker.
Thank you, Stefani.